Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Professor Plimer, thank you very much. You obviously collect art. You obviously have an eye for it.
I collect a lot of things. I collect minerals, I collect rocks, I collect books, I collect art.
What's the most valuable thing you've collected?
A pink diamond.
A pink diamond, yes. Argyle diamond.
Yes, of course.
Thought you were going to say your wife.
Well, the pink diamond and her are one and the same.
Oh, there you go. Well, see, I call my wife Frangipani, sweet scented flower. She melts in my arms when I say that.
I once had 7 small, not very good quality Argyle pinks, and I have a collection of cut gems, and occasionally I open them up and lust over them. And one time I'd been away and opened up and looked and I saw the pinks were missing. And we hadn't been burgled, and I thought, what the hell's going on here? So I rang up a friend and I said, oh, Richard, how are things going? And he said, oh, no, almost done, almost got it finished. And I'd put it together. She'd raided my gem collection and said, oh, these pinks look nice, and designed a piece of jewellery and spoke to a friend of ours who was a jeweller.
Didn't check it with you first?
Oh, not at all.
No?
They were for her anyway, but it's fairly dangerous to have some of these things around.
Yeah, but what makes a diamond valuable? It's like a painting. I mean, I don't know how anyone can say that painting is worth X or that diamond is worth Y.
Well, diamonds have a classification system, and so that system is fixed, and you can value it on that basis. But with a painting, it's very much out of taste. And there's
Paul Macon just walked in and gave me a glass of wine.
He's a good
Professor,
man.
you don't have a glass of wine?
No, I won't have a glass of wine because I have an afternoon of work in front of me.
Oh, bless your heart.
And I'm way behind, and I'm always behind, and I love weekends because that's when I work.
That 4-letter word comes up all the time, doesn't it?
Work?
Yep.
Yeah. You'd never retire.
I once discussed my retirement with Gina Reinhardt, and she suggested that my retirement is between the saddle and when I hit the ground. And she read me perfectly. She read that I'm a workaholic.
Yes. You've always been so.
Apparently, so my friends tell me.
How many degrees have you got?
Only 2, just an honours degree and a PhD. I was awarded an honorary doctorate from a university in Austria, and then they realised that my views on climate were not in accord with their views, and they withdrew the offer. That's happened a number of times in my life. The Duke of Edinburgh had me once, invited me in his capacity as patron of the Royal Geographical Society to give a talk to the Royal Society, and later the mandarins from Buckingham Palace invited me. I'd been uninvited. And these sort of things I treasure because it means that you're hitting home.
Yeah. To want to shut you up, though, is plain insane.
Well, I can talk under wet concrete.
But it's not only that. It's not just talking. You talk a great deal of sense.
Well, I also have quite a bit of knowledge.
Yes.
And I'm not afraid to tell someone what I think. And I suspect that goes right back to childhood. But if you can mount an argument based on information, then you can persuade me differently if you present contrary information, which is more convincing and repeatable. So I'm quite happy to argue the point, and I'm quite happy not to be following the mainstream and to be knocked out here or there.
But you can prove what you say. It's not only
proof's
an opinion.
A difficult thing to do. You can have the body of evidence suggesting this. So, and this is why I write a lot. I write books. I've got 4 Spectator articles on the go at present. Next year's book, I'm well into that. I think that you can slowly chip away at things, and one of the reasons I write a lot of books is that if people read my work on climate and then the political environment changes, they can say, oh, yes, I did read that. I'll go back and check it. So I like to provide people with the ammunition to mount an argument.
And we have to re-foster, I think, the art of debate and discussion. I mean, on the issue of climate change and many of the subjects that are controversial, people are being pushed into a corner by the government,
bullied,
and organisations, and they're quite wrong because the baseline narrative is incorrect.
Well, to make it worse, we've had a 50-year dumbing down of our education system. Kids now no longer have knowledge, nor have they ability to critically think. So they can't even mount an argument. And we have governments pushing us in one direction or the other. Now, there are certain things like the amount of energy the sun puts out, which is variable, and the rotation of the earth, that no matter what a government thinks, you can't change it. And they are the drivers of climate. So I think it's very, very dangerous ground for governments to start to tell you how to think. And we very rarely have governments that will accept a contrary view.
Yeah. The Institute of Public Affairs, they did a survey on this misinformation and disinformation bill that the government wants to get up. And it's amazing. It's something like 70% they have discovered. It's a bit of variation with certain age groups, but 75%, say, of people don't want it. But the government will ignore that.
Well, I'm a member of the IPA and I'm a benefactor of the IPA. I went to their Melbourne function last week and I've got their Sydney function next week. And at the Melbourne function, Jacinta Price spoke. Now, she's one of the great Australians. Mm-hmm. And she was arguing that the 60-40 vote in The Voice is about the proportion you get for most major social and political issues in Australia. Mm-hmm. And the government is quite knowingly and deliberately ignoring that conservatism which we have in this country. Yeah. And she's a warrior. She will continue to fight, but we're now seeing the lack of acceptance of The Voice. And in some states like Victoria, they're totally ignoring it.
No,
bringing in legislation
through the back door any way they can.
Yes. And look, left-leaning governments have a complete totalitarian posture, and they dislike the population speaking up against them. And people are not doing enough fighting back, pushing back. Because in Australia, as I said earlier, we're not in a very good economic condition at all. If we're second highest inflation on the planet, only second to Slovakia, that means we are not travelling at all well, despite what our politicians are saying.
Even
and the
worse,
public needs to say, no, we're not going to put up with it.
We have debt.
We have massive debt. And in Victoria, it is, I believe, the state and federal debt for every man, woman and child in Victoria is about $65,000.
Yeah.
Now,
terrible thing.
It is immoral to pass debt on to the next generation. Yeah. And that's what we're doing. And that is being helped by government activities who have inflation, which is a good way of paying back debt. It's a good way of devaluing the currency. And this is why we're getting some solid assets like gold and silver. And, well, we were talking off air about pink diamonds. So some of these are rising quite substantially because other assets are depreciating. So if you keep cash under the mattress, you're losing money.
And of course, with the rising cost of living, we are heading towards Keating's Banana Republic.
Did we ever leave it? Did we? Are you back in town next week or are you away?
Next week I am. I'm just zipping up to Sydney for a very long lunch and then an IPA function that evening and then coming back on the Wednesday. So
I look forward to seeing you next Friday.
Well, I don't look forward to flying because Qantas are moralising at me, telling me about their views on this country.
Welcome to country and all that nonsense. God help us.
I don't want to be welcomed to my own country.
No, you tell them, Professor.
Qantas engineers might prevent you from flying, Professor.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. I might save my liver a couple of dreadful sessions.
Professor, we'll see you next Friday. Professor Ian Plimer, ladies and gentlemen. Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.